Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the April 26, 2018 special edition of The Breast There Is, The Breast There Was, and The Breast There Ever Will Be Wrestling Podcast. As always, I am your host, Mikey B, WWE, and this is a special broadcast because I will be discussing and giving my predictions for WWE's first pay-per-view event of the new calendar year, or at least in calendar year in the calendar of the WWF year, which is as soon as WrestleMania ends, the new season begins. So this is the first event anyways that will be on the calendar before back to the regularly scheduled program of their Sunday programs and pay-per-view shows. This first one is the Greatest Royal Rumble, which is taking place in Saudi Arabia. And this is taking place also on a Friday, which is different. The WWE has not yet held a pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia before. This is certainly a first, and this first occasion is marking a number of other firsts as well too. For the first time ever, there will be a 50-man Royal Rumble matchup as opposed to the normal 30-man Royal Rumble match. I got to say that this whole event in itself I was excited about until about a week ago when I came to the realization that I didn't recall there being any women's matchups being advertised for this event. And sure enough, when I looked on WWE.com, it was confirmed that this is an all-male wrestling card. And with a company like WWE advertising and promoting for the past year, maybe two, about their developing women's revolution and how proud they are, and all these new matches they've for the first time ever featured women in. Like they had the first ever women's Royal Rumble match in January. They had the first women's Money in the Bank ladder match, for example. For them to accept this business deal wherein they're not allowed to even bring their female superstars to showcase them and perform, makes me believe that this is all a financial decision and that Vince McMahon's pockets just got a lot fatter. And I think that's very disappointing. Sadly, it's not too surprising, considering that Vince McMahon has shown in the past that money talks and he'll do anything for money. It seems like these people have no dignity and they won't care. They'll sell anybody out just to further their own business. And there are a number of other red flags that sort of struck up to me when they were advertising and promoting this pay-per-view, which is that, they're having people like The Undertaker, Triple H compete here, and these are guys that are generally only reserved for WrestleMania in recent years. So they're competing here. They're having people return who aren't even on the roster right now, like Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio, coming and competing at this event. It really just smells and seems like it's a big cash grab. So that's very disappointing, and I certainly am not for this. I think the company's doing well enough. It's not like they would be going bankrupt if they wouldn't accept this proposal from Saudi Arabia. And to make matters worse, it appears that the company has signed a 10-year agreement with these business partners in Saudi Arabia. So you would think that there's going to be at least one major event like this every year, or they might even replicate this Greatest Royal Rumble event each year too for the next 10 years. And, it remains to be seen if they're going to be flexible and become more open-minded and allow female superstars to compete on these cards. If they don't, I don't understand why they would even do this. Again, other than the fact that all these superstars are probably earning a humongous payday for just one day's work there. And furthermore, to call this the Greatest Royal Rumble, Royal Rumble itself, historically, is one of WWE's premier events every year. To me, it's my personal favorite match of the year. And the reason why part of the reason it's so great is not only its uniqueness, that this style of match was never done before, where they had different entrants. They start with two, and a new entrant would come every 2 minutes or a minute and a half, depending on which year they're running this event. But regardless, it was a special thing that always had an important culmination, which is that the winner of this Royal Rumble match always was guaranteed a slot at WrestleMania in one of the main event matches. And sorry, I shouldn't say it's always been like this, but in the past, 30 years of the Royal Rumble, only I think 3 or 4, starting in 1993, the winner has always been guaranteed a WrestleMania main event spot. So now you're having this, what they're calling greatest Royal Rumble match, which has more competitors, that is 50 men instead of 30, but there's not even a prize at the end. I mean, obviously monetary, these people are all these wrestlers are going to get paid very handsomely, I'm sure, but there's no prestige. There's no, what does this matter if you win this greatest Royal Rumble match? You don't get guaranteed anything within the storyline of the company. So to me, that's bogus. And that's just going on top of all what I think are hypocritical reasons why the company is even doing this. So I'm not in favor of this event. I'm merely giving my predictions because there are championships on the line, and I feel as someone that's reporting on the WWE, it's essential that I need to do this. But from a moral standpoint, I think this is very wrong, and the company should have not accepted this unless they could have got their women superstars involved too. Especially, and furthering that point, it was only a few months back when Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss had the first women's match in United Arab Emirates. And this was such a big watershed moment, and everyone was crying. There were a lot of tears about how, and so emotional, considering that this was such a first that they were allowed to do this. And then you follow that up a few months later by having a male-only wrestling pay-per-view on a Friday in Saudi Arabia. None of this makes sense. So without further ado, I will list these matches and give my predictions. I feel that this pay-per-view itself is also hardly a pay-per-view because there's been barely any storyline build up for any of these matchups here. In some ways, there's since we're having some WrestleMania repeat matches, it is kind of an extension or a continuation of the WWE's WrestleMania 34 pay-per-view. So, but having said this, I don't believe that even though they're advertising, 7 championships are on the line, I don't think there's going to be many title changes. This was just, again, to further advertise and promote this different event that they have going on. There are 10 matches on the card. Like I said, 7 of them are championship matches. So beginning with the first one is for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship match. And before I get into actually listing these matches, I should also comment that since this is the official start of Season 2 of my podcast, I am going to be starting a new prediction count for this year, but I will be certainly mentioning my overall score, adding to my scores from the past year. So I'm hoping that this season I will definitely improve on my winning percentage of 59% last year. And I'm also, as I mentioned in a podcast recently, I'm going to be also keeping track of a separate match count where they're the matches that end in a no contest or disqualification or count out or things of that nature, where it's not just an actual victory with a pinfall or submission, because those kinds of matches are very, very difficult to predict, as McMahon himself can just decide on a whim to change the results, and it would make no sense, but he has the authority to certainly do that. So anyways, now I will get into the matchups for this first event of this new season in the WWE. So the first match is for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship, featuring champion Cedric Alexander taking on Kalisto. This is really ever since Enzo Amore got dropped from the company, this cruiserweight division seems to have suffered significantly. They're very seldomly even shown on Monday Night Raw anymore, whereas during the Enzo Amore time, while he was in the cruiserweight division, they were featured every single week on Monday Night Raw. So this division has certainly suffered a lot. Cedric Alexander, from what I understand, recently won the belt at WrestleMania in the pre-show match. As I don't review pre-show matches ever on pay-per-views, I don't really know and don't really care about what that result was, but clearly he won the championship there, and I'm saying that he will retain over Kalisto. here at the Greatest Royal Rumble event. Second matchup is for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships between champions the Bludgeon Brothers and the Usos. The Bludgeon Brothers just recently won these titles from the Usos in a triple threat match against also the New Day at WrestleMania 34. And I'm quite sure that these belts are not going anywhere yet. Bludgeon Brothers will hang on to them, and they will be victorious, retaining their belts. The next match is one of the only ones where I believe definitely, we will have a new champion. This is for the vacant Raw Tag Team Championships, which Braun Strowman and fan from from WrestleMania 34, Nicholas, had to relinquish the day after WrestleMania. After defeating Cesaro and Sheamus at WrestleMania 34. Cesaro and Sheamus exercised their rematch clause, which they are going to be taking on the winners of a tag team eliminator challenge from the past 2 weeks of Monday Night Raw, which was the newly formed team of Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. And I'm going with Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt to win the belts here. It's an understatement to say that these guys are very interesting dynamic. Both very quality in-ring wrestlers, great characters they have created for the two of them, and it would be very interesting to see what they do as a tag team unit. So I'm saying these guys are going to win the Raw Tag Team Championships and be champions together for the first time. The next match on the card is for the Intercontinental Championship, and it will be a fatal 4-way ladder match. So in this match, involved in this match, we have Seth Rollins, who is crowned champion at WrestleMania 34. We have Finn Balor, we have The Miz, and Samoa Joe. This is an interesting one because since last week's Superstar Shakeup in the WWE, we now know that The Miz and Samoa Joe are going to be competing on SmackDown Live from now on. And meanwhile, Seth Rollins and Finn Balor are going to be continue to be on Monday Night Raw. And I believe the fact that those other guys are gone onto SmackDown Live and that the United States Championship belongs on SmackDown Live, that The Miz and Samoa Joe will definitely not win the belt here at this one. It's going to come down to Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. And even though I felt for a long time that Seth Rollins will retain, I have a feeling this is one that I could get my original WrestleMania 34 wish where I chose Finn Balor to be victorious. I think I'm going to go with him for this particular match. Like I said, it's going to come down to Rollins or Balor to be victorious here and win the Intercontinental Championship. So I'm going Finn Balor. The guy has not held a title since his one-day reign of the Universal Championship back in August of 2016. Give the guy a title. Rollins has already had a few in that time, and he was the one responsible, after all, for putting out Finn Balor for many months following that championship match at SummerSlam back in 2016. So I'm going with Finn Balor to win his first Intercontinental Championship. The next match is for the United States Championship match between newly crowned champion Jeff Hardy and Jinder Mahal. And Jeff Hardy, this is a belt that's really bounced around a lot in the last 2 weeks. This United States Championship belonged to Jinder Mahal at WrestleMania, or after his victory at WrestleMania 34 against Bobby Roode, Randy Orton, and Rusev. But then Jinder Mahal surprised everybody by bringing the United States Championship over to Monday Night Raw. And you think, well, how are they going to do this if both Intercontinental Championship and United States Championship are here on Monday Night Raw? How you do this is you have Jeff Hardy win the belt on Monday Night Raw against Jinder Mahal, and then in the Superstar Shakeup, go over to SmackDown Live, where Jeff Hardy now resides. So I can presume that Jeff Hardy, with this United States Championship, I presume that the belt will remain on SmackDown Live as it has been. And since Jeff Hardy's there, to me, this is pretty obvious that Jeff Hardy is going to walk away with the belt. Certainly changes could occur, but if the WWE is going to indeed keep the Intercontinental and United States Championships on separate programs, then this is how it's going to be. So Jeff Hardy, I believe, will retain his United States Championship in this match. Next one up is the WWE Championship match, WrestleMania 34 rematch between AJ Styles, who is the champion, against Shinsuke Nakamura. This match was billed as a dream match at WrestleMania 34. In my opinion, didn't quite live up to the hype. It was a solid match, but for a match being hyped and hailed as a dream match for a few months prior to the actual event itself, it was a little bit of a letdown. It had a great finish in the match, and I'm curious to see what sort of a finish these guys will do in this match. But I do believe that the outcome will remain the same. AJ Styles, I believe, will hold on to the belt, and Shinsuke Nakamura will still be involved in the top program with AJ Styles and a few of the other big names on SmackDown Live, and will win the belt. The monkey wrench in the plans here, though, folks, is that since this Greatest Royal Rumble event is taking place so soon after WrestleMania 34, it makes you wonder if some of the results at WrestleMania 34, which were surprising, were they actually changed the results there at WrestleMania 34 to accommodate for this event, this Greatest Royal Rumble event. Because at WrestleMania 34, I had Shinsuke Nakamura earning his first WWE Championship in a much-deserved way, since he's been, definitely hyped a lot since last year's WrestleMania. Hasn't won a single title yet, any of the titles on SmackDown Live. So it made sense that he would be victorious over AJ Styles, and they would start a lengthy program together. And they still certainly will, but Nakamura now is very clearly a heel. I still just don't think that he's going to win. I don't see a lot of championships changing hands at this Greatest Royal Rumble pay-per-view, as again, it's not even a normal pay-per-view in the world of the WWE. So AJ Styles is my pick to win this match and keep the championship. Next match up on the card is one which we haven't seen in a long, long time, which is a casket match featuring a man who we also haven't seen besides WrestleMania 34. We also haven't seen him in a long time, which is The Undertaker. The Undertaker will be taking on Rusev in a casket match. This match had absolutely no build-up and will have zero ramifications. So I'm led to believe that The Undertaker will definitely win a casket match, which is a match which was designed for him. And will give the Saudi Arabian audience quite an exciting thrill to see Undertaker in action and win a casket match. So since this match has no bearing on anything, that's an easy call for me to make. The Undertaker will be victorious. The next match, the next match on the card is between John Cena and Triple H. Once again, another matchup which had no previous feud built up, or there was no writing storyline for this. It was just like, well, these are two big superstars. Let's put them in a match together to make everyone happy. But seeing as how Triple H in recent years has been reverting to more of a business role and less of a wrestling role, besides WrestleMania, he's always appearing in a high-profile match, which earns him a lot of money. He's in all these years, though, recently he's been doing the job for everybody who he's been facing, meaning he's been putting over and letting other people beat him at WrestleMania just to make them look stronger by defeating a Hall of Fame caliber guy in Triple H. So in my mind, this one's also a bit of a no-brainer. There would be no benefit to having Triple H defeat a guy in John Cena who is, pretty much the current face of the company still, and he is still active, which is the biggest factor. He's still an active wrestler on the WWE roster. He will defeat Triple H at the Greatest Royal Rumble. No question about it. John Cena will be victorious. The next match is another WrestleMania 34 rematch for the Universal Championship between champion Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And this one, though, this time is in a steel cage match. This is another one of those matchups, just like I mentioned previously with the AJ Nakamura. That this is one where I could see them maybe. Because I think not only myself, but lots of people were surprised that Roman Reigns, after that whole year build-up against Brock Lesnar, did not defeat him. So that made no sense. However, though, that since Brock Lesnar is now re-signed with the company, If he were to drop the belt to Roman Reigns tomorrow, I feel like Lesnar would just disappear for several months and come back at SummerSlam. But I feel like he's going to be involved certainly more times in the months before that too. So I'm led to believe Lesnar's going to keep this belt, probably in some sort of dirty fashion, and Reigns will get his comeuppance and win the belt from him still soon enough, but I don't think it'll be tomorrow at the Greatest Royal Rumble. At least I would be very surprised if they did that, but it certainly, on the other hand, would explain why Roman Reigns did not win the belt at WrestleMania 34 when it seemingly the whole WWE universe thought that Roman Reigns would win the belt then, as the company has for a long time had Roman Reigns pegged as their guy. So it's a bit of a surprise, but it was a bit of a surprise, I should say, but I still, now that they've made that decision, I believe that they're going to live with it and keep the strap with Lesnar for a little while longer. So that's who my pick is. I'm choosing Brock Lesnar to defeat Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship and to keep it for now. And now the final event of the night is the first ever 50-man Greatest Royal Rumble match. Again, this Royal Rumble match, despite its unprecedented number of participants, really has no meaning or purpose whatsoever. You win the Greatest Royal Rumble match, other than having that accolade on your resume, it doesn't give you anything, no title shot, nothing. So I'm thinking that this will be a feel-good, happy ending situation in which Daniel Bryan will be the winner of this. I have a 1 in 50 shot of guessing this right. I won't feel too bad or lose any sleep if I get that wrong, but I'm guessing Daniel Bryan will be victorious in this Royal Rumble match. Since he's recently returned, he's beloved all over the world, and certainly he deserves this more so than just about anybody else. So Daniel Bryan is my pick there. Okay, folks, well, that pretty much will do it. Again, I'm disappointed in the WWE that this event is even transpiring without the women superstars on the roster being able to participate. It's a travesty. The company should know better and should do better than this. You're trying to set a great example for all your young fans and old fans alike. Then make sure you have it where you have all-inclusive events. None of this exclusivity stuff. This is garbage. This is crap. So, anyways, to my faithful listeners there, certainly if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you liked what you heard today. And also feel free to put any comments or questions below if you have any. Thanks very much for listening. Hopefully this event will still be decent, but I'm not keeping my fingers crossed on that one. But thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you next time, and we'll get back to the regularly scheduled programming in the WWE. So that's it. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.